Hello everyone, it's Meg, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some of my favourite poetry books. I am obviously pre-filming this video now, but this video is going to be posted on October 1st, which is National Poetry Day. And if you aren't aware, if you are fairly new on this channel, my name is Meg and I really love poetry. I love reading poetry, I love writing poetry. It is what I'm hoping to study for my masters, what I am currently doing my portfolio for, and I wanted to do a video in celebration of National Poetry Day, and I was wondering what to do, and I thought I would just share some of my favourite poetry books. I do have a couple of poetry related videos, and I will try and leave some of them in the description if you want to go and check them out, including my whole collection of poetry books. It has grown since I last filmed that video because it was about a year ago, I think, roughly, since I filmed it. And I also have a beginner's guide to reading poetry as well, so I will leave those two videos linked in the description if you want to go and check them out. But yeah, this is just going to be a super chill video talking about some of my favourite poetry books, so without further ado, let's get into the video. So for quite a few of these collections, I must admit it's been a while since I've read them, so you will have to bear with me, but I really enjoyed them. I'm actually planning on rereading quite a few of these on the lead up to applying for my masters, because obviously I want to start getting back in the habit of reading poetry on a more daily basis. But the first collection that I have is Hold Your Own by K. Tempest, and this is probably the first ever poetry collection I bought for myself. I read it back in like 2015, 2016, something along those lines. It's a very long time ago, but I have two collections by K, this one and Running Upon the Wires, which is their latest collection, I believe, and this is one of their most well-known collections, I believe, and they are amazing apparently when performing, so I haven't watched any of their videos yet. I need to, of them performing, but from what I can remember, this is something kind of relating to Greek gods, but I just remember really enjoying it, and it was kind of my eye-opener of getting back into poetry, because I started getting back into poetry when I was at university, and this was one of the first collections that I read when I was getting back into it, and I just remember really enjoying it. Kay's writing is not super flowery or super difficult to understand. It's very impactful, but also fairly easy to understand, so I probably would recommend the poetry books if you are fairly new to poetry. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I am planning on rereading it in the next couple of months, along with a couple of the other collections that I am going to share with you guys in this video, because I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I've grown a lot as a reader and as a poet over the past couple of years, so I feel like I'm going to get even more out of this book than I did the first time I read it. Next up we have a collection that I am currently just started rereading, and that is Sunshine by Melissa Lee Houghton, and this again is a collection I haven't read since around 2016, but I really enjoyed this, and I'm currently rereading it because I want to annotate it, and like I said, for my masters. And Melissa is a local poet. She lives in the town I went to university in, and she's from Manchester, so there are a couple of like familiar like trademarks and cities that are in this collection, which I really enjoy. It's kind of a comfort to see parts of my area kind of represented in this book. But this book covers lots of different topics. It covers such things such as addiction, abuse, mental health, and a whole bunch of other things, so there are probably quite a few trigger warnings for this book, so just be aware of that if you ever decide to pick this up. But it was very impactful when I read it, and I'm learning a lot more about this. I've only read a couple of poems, I'm only a few poems into it so far, but I am enjoying my reread. I'm kind of learning to appreciate her writing all over again. I find it is actually a little bit more disjointed than I remember it being, but I'm going into it with such a different perspective compared to when I read it, what was it, like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago I think. But I'm really looking forward to carrying on with my reread of this, and this probably isn't the best collection if you are a beginner for poetry, but if you're kind of into poetry a bit more and you want to pick something up that deals with some very tough topics, then I recommend this collection. Next up we have another collection that I'm planning on rereading very soon, and that is Grain by John Glenday. And I saw John do a reading at a poetry afternoon reading in Manchester about 2 years ago, in 2018 I think, and he was one of the people where before he stood up I knew I was going to like what he wrote, and I did. I loved his poems, and this is actually a signed copy because he had some books for sale at this poetry event, so I got it signed, which was lovely, and he just seems like such a wonderful person, and I could really relate to his writing and the fact that it's kind of familiar to mine. Kind of gives me Mary Oliver vibes, which I really love. It's kind of a lot about nature and a lot of other aspects, and there's one poem in here, it's something to do with a fairy tale. I did actually reread it the other day, and it is called A Fairy Tale, which is probably my favourite poem in this collection, which is a retelling of Beauty and the Beast but told backwards. And I could talk more about this poem, but I might do a separate video where I share and talk about some of my favourite poems, so if that's something you guys are interested in, give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment down below and I will make sure to do that for you. But I really love this, and I'm very much looking forward to diving back into it again and being able to annotate it. I have tabbed it like a lot of these collections, but I haven't annotated it, so I'm very much looking forward to get back into it. And yeah, I'm so glad that I've discovered his work, because it's definitely some of my favourite that I've come across so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes out with in the future. Next up we have a poet who is probably my favourite on this list, because she is like my inspiration. I love her work oh so dearly, and that is Mary Oliver, and I couldn't just choose one collection. I have 3 collections by her currently. These are probably my favourite, which is 1,000 Mornings and Blue Horses. Blue Horses is probably my favourite out of the 2, but most of you guys probably will have heard of Mary Oliver. She's a very well known, very well loved poet. She passed away about a year or 2 ago now, which is so sad, but I adore Mary's writing. It is something I can really relate to. She is a lover of nature and the countryside and animals, which is everything that I love, and nature is something that I also write about a lot with my own poetry, and obviously it's a very common theme with Mary's poetry as well, and kind of how the nature ties in with a lot of life lessons and a lot of things that happen with life, and see how nature and how our inner workings are not so different, and our thoughts, how they interconnect, and I just love it. It's so wonderful. I think my favourite poem by hers is Wild Geese. I know that's probably quite a popular poem, but I really love it, and I adore her work. I want to try and collect all of her poetry collections that she has so far. I have these 2, and then I have Dog Songs as well, which I did enjoy, but these 2 are my favourite of hers so far, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to reading the rest of her work and collecting the rest of her books and just reading her work and rediscovering it, because I just love her work so much, and I cannot wait to read more of it. Next up we have Every Word You Cannot Say by Ian S. Thomas, and this was a book I picked up from the bookshop last year, kind of on a whim. I'd read the back, and it was literally the back of this book. What is written is literally like somebody had plucked my thoughts out of my head and put it on paper. I'm not going to read it out to you because it's quite long, but I will put it here, and then if you want to pause the video or zoom in and read it, then read it. But this is a book, it didn't quite live up to my expectations, but I still really enjoyed it, if you can tell by how many tabs I've got. And I don't even know how to tell you what this book is about. I feel like it's about mental health, it's about your journey through life, discovering who you are. It's about so many things that I can't explain because it's just explained on the back. Here it's about knowing you'll be okay, about the hard times, about so much, and it just spoke to me so much. and it also has illustrations in it as well, which is quite fun. Some of the layouts of the poems, I must admit, I don't quite understand. Like there's one in the shape of a hand, in the shape of a whale, and I don't mind that sometimes, but also at the same time I don't really understand. But this just is a collection that I really love so much because it just spoke to me on such a personal level, and it was like I said, like my thoughts in my head, somebody had plucked them from my mind and managed to explain them perfectly on paper, which is something I personally really struggle to do. But yeah, this is also another collection I'd recommend if you are a beginner in poetry. It's easy to understand, it's a quick read, and I did start rereading it a while ago, but I haven't finished it. But yeah, I really adored this book, and hopefully I am interested in seeing what Ian S. Thomas has in the future, but this is just one that personally spoke to me so much, and it's one that I definitely will be revisiting like throughout my life whenever it is something I know that I need to read. And the last couple of books I have are actually anthologies, and they are anthologies that are chosen and illustrated by Chris Roddell. I have mentioned these anthologies in a couple of videos previously, but if you don't know, Chris Roddell is a UK children's author and illustrator, and he loves poetry, so he has put together 3 anthologies which are Poems to Live Your Life By, Poems to Fall in Love With, and the most recent one, which I only got the other week, which is Poems to Save the World With. And obviously you can see how stunning these covers are, but they are just each of them are a collection of poems around certain themes, and that Chris personally chooses, that he personally loves, and he illustrates them. And I will try my best to show you some illustrations that are in these books, like there, and he has a very distinct style. If you are from the UK, you may remember the Otterline books, which is one of the many books that he has written, and his art style is just gorgeous. It's so distinct, it's so characterful, and as a visual person I especially enjoy these collections because I love having a visual aspect. I feel like it adds so much more to the poem and to the reading experience. And these are, again, these are great for all ages. They are great for whether you are new to poetry and you want to discover new poets, or you are quite advanced in poetry and you just enjoy the extra aspect of illustration, and also maybe even discovering some new poets. And they're just so much fun, and I really love the poems that are in here. I've tabbed these all up already with some poems I really enjoy. But yeah, if you like, these are great for anybody. I highly recommend that you go and pick them up. And obviously this one, Poems to Save the World With, is very appropriate for the time that we are in now, and just look at that shininess. Like, these look beautiful on my bookshelves and I'm in love with them. So yeah, these are like my favourite anthologies that I own, I think, and I don't know whether Chris is going to come out with more in the future, but I really enjoyed them, and I'm very proud to have them on my shelves, and they are ones that I will again be returning to throughout the years because they have some really wonderful poems with really wonderful messages and are just great for anybody to read at any age, no matter the time of year. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing about some of my favourite poetry books. If you are a fan of poetry, let me know in the comments, or if you have read any of these books and you have any thoughts on them, let me know as well, or if you actually plan on picking any of these books up, or I would love to know, because I always love seeing people get inspired to start reading poetry, whether it's from my videos or other people's videos. Poetry is something that's definitely kind of coming up in numbers now. It's definitely getting a bit more popular, which I absolutely love, and I love being able to share some of my favourite collections in case you guys may be inspired to pick some of them up and give them a go, and maybe you will fall in love with them. Maybe you will find a new poet that you love, or a poem that speaks to you that you will constantly be returning to throughout your life. And yeah, poetry is such a wonderful thing, and I just could not do, I had to do a video for National Poetry Day, and hopefully I will do a few more poetry-esque videos in the future. You definitely have more writing videos coming up on my channel, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video nonetheless. If you like this video then please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you would like to see more bookish videos from me then make sure you hit the subscribe button and little bell icon so you'll be noted every time I post a new video. As always, I will leave the links to my social media along with the links to my Goodreads in the description down below for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you so much, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!